feel about the rapper Rick Ross having the same name?
Well, the fact that he stole my name, not that we had the same name, he actually stole my whole story, my identity, the whole thing. You know, he built his career off of my legacy.
No, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. I never wanted to work with him.
I'll buy your masters. You ready? I will buy your masters.
Big Meech was supposed to come home to loyalty, legacy, and love. Instead, he stepped into the spotlight beside Rick Ross and lit a match that set everything on fire. The streets watched in disbelief as Meech stood next to the very man 50 Cent had been beefing with for over a decade. Too many, it looked like betrayal. 250, it felt personal. After everything he'd done for the Meech family, this wasn't just disrespect, it was war. A move no one expected, until it hit like a grenade. And once it did, the fallout was fast, public, and brutal. When news first broke that Big Meech was coming home, the streets were buzzing. Plans for a massive welcome home concert were already in motion. It wasn't just a party, it was supposed to be a celebration of redemption, legacy, and everything Meech meant to the culture. But just days before the event, everything fell apart. The concert was suddenly canceled without warning. No press release, no real explanation, just silence.
I feel bad for Lil Meech. I don't feel bad for no grown man in this planning. Like, I'm a grown man. I gotta feel bad for another grown man. Like, you a grown man too. Asking for my sympathy for you be alright. Go ahead.
Instantly, fingers started pointing at 50 Cent. Blogs ran with it. Social media lit up with claims that 50 had pulled the plug out of spite. After all, he had every reason to be angry, especially after seeing Meech standing shoulder to shoulder with Rick Ross. But then the narrative shifted. New rumors began to circulate. Quiet ones. Whispers that it wasn't 50 behind the scenes. It was Ross. According to some insiders, Rick Ross might have been the one who sabotaged Meech's big moment, not to protect him, but to control him. To keep him from shining too brightly too soon. And the more people dug into it, the more suspicious it started to look. Because while Meech's moment was canceled, Ross was suddenly everywhere, smiling, posting, talking like he was the mastermind behind Meech's return, and the timing, too perfect. Some fans felt played, others felt fooled, but almost everyone agreed something about this didn't add up. That cancellation was just the opening shockwave. Not long after the canceled concert, the internet exploded again, but this time, it was about the photos. Big Meech, fresh out and still rebuilding his name, was seen smiling and posted up with Rick Ross and Lil Meech at high-profile events. No tension, no distance, just good vibes, like everything was sweet. But to the fans watching, and especially to 50 Cent, it was anything but sweet. It was a slap in the face. These weren't just random run-ins. They looked planned, deliberate, and the message they sent, loud and clear. Meech had picked a side, and it wasn't 50 single quotes up. Up until then, 50 had been relatively quiet, keeping his distance from the drama. But once those images hit the timeline, he went off in true 50 fashion. On Instagram, he dropped a photo of a rat, a not-so-subtle reference to Rick Ross's controversial past as a corrections officer. But it wasn't just aimed at Ross. 50 tagged Big Meech, directly calling him a rat to a man he once championed, now lumped in with the enemy. And the caption, it hit hard. "This how y'all moving now?" That one post flipped the whole situation on its head. Fans were divided. Some defended Meech, saying he was just playing the game. Others sided with 50, calling the move the ultimate betrayal. But one thing was clear, the alliance between 50 Cent and the BMF legacy had fractured, and fast. But that post was just the tip of this iceberg. As if the betrayal wasn't already messy, 50 Cent took things to a whole new level, aiming not just at Big Meech, but at the very heart of his business circle. In a cryptic Instagram post, 50 suggested that Tammy Cowens, the longtime friend and co-executive producer of Meech's legacy and brand, might not be who she seems. He implied she was tied to the feds, possibly even an informant planted to control the BMF narrative. The accusation didn't come with direct evidence, but this is 50 we're talking about. He doesn't just stir drama, he lets it simmer and boil. The post sent shockwaves through the culture. Why? Because Tammy Cowens wasn't just someone behind the scenes. She's been running business affairs for Meech, speaking on his behalf, helping shape how his story is told in the media. If she really had federal ties, that would mean Big Meech was knowingly walking side by side with someone tied to the system that brought him down. And 50 wasn't done in follow-ups. He hinted that Meech may have known and kept quiet. The subtext was clear. If Tammy was working with the feds and Meech didn't shut it down, then what does that make him? But Meech didn't stay silent for long. On Instagram, he made a rare public post, directly denying the whispers. "I never told, never will," he wrote. A short sentence, but one loaded with weight. For a man whose entire brand is built on loyalty, honor, and silence, this was more than a denial. It was a warning. Still, the damage was already done. Fans started digging. Podcasts ran wild with theories. Old interviews resurfaced. And even supporters began to wonder, is this still the Meech we knew? Or has the game changed too much? While the rumors spiraled, the drama only intensified behind the scenes. While 50 Cent was throwing haymakers online and fans were unraveling, loyalty threads in real time. Rick Ross. He wasn't rattled. Not one bit. In fact, he seemed entertained. Ross started trolling 50 Cent in Instagram videos, laughing like it was all a joke. In one post, he sipped Belaire like champagne while calling 50 emotional. In another, he casually dropped lines mocking the BMF drama, like it was just another episode in a bad TV series. He didn't deny, he didn't defend, he swagger. Instead of panicking over rumors that he helped shut down Big Meech's Welcome Home concert, Ross spun the whole situation into a celebration. He took the energy from the backlash and redirected it, throwing pop-up events, club appearances, and even dropping hints about future boss moves with Meech's camp. He wasn't just surviving the scandal, he was winning the optics war, and while fans were still trying to make sense of the snitch allegations, Instagram posts, and rat emojis, Ross was out partying, smiling, unbothered, as if to say, "This isn't chaos, this is chess." He pivoted from being the alleged villain in the concert cancellation to being the man Meech was spotted next to. And just like that, the heat started shifting away from Ross and back onto 50. Because, whether it was real or for show, Ross had aligned himself with Big Meech at the exact moment 50 Cent was calling him out, and for the culture watching from the sidelines, that spoke volumes. Ross seemed decades ahead in this game. And right when the smoke should have started clearing, Lil Meech stepped into the fire. The son of Big Meech didn't just stay quiet. He publicly stood next to Rick Ross, showing up at events, posing for photos, reposting Ross's moves like they were still solid. To fans, it was a loud statement. Lil Meech had picked his side, and 50 Cent, he didn't take it lightly. Not at all. 50 fired back hard. This wasn't just about BMF anymore. It got personal fast. He dropped posts that dragged Lil Meech's mother meme, accusing her of being on drugs and allegedly attending rehab. He even brought Rick Ross's daughter into it, mocking her and using her as ammunition in his online war. The message was ruthless. If y'all want to play dirty, I'll dig deeper. But while Lil Meech was flexing the lifestyle designer, clothes, iced out chains, and luxury cars on Instagram, the cracks were forming behind the curtain. The legacy he was trying to protect, the empire his father built, the loyalty lines he walked between 50 and Ross, they were all starting to fracture. Because while Meech looked like the new age boss on the surface, the internet was starting to whisper a different story, one filled with betrayal, broken trusts, and deals made in shadows. Mimi's flex was loud, but the foundation was splintering. This wasn't the first time Rick Ross built an empire off someone else's name. Let's rewind. Back when Ross dropped the hit track BMF Blowin' Money Fast, he shouted out Big Meech like they were blood. "I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover." The streets ate it up. The song made millions, and Rick Ross cemented himself as a boss. But behind the bars and bass lines, the real Big Meech was locked up, watching his name get flipped, remixed, and monetized. And it goes deeper. Even the name Rick Ross wasn't really his to begin with. The real freeway Rick Ross, an actual kingpin, sued the rapper for identity theft, claiming he hijacked his story, his name, his legacy. That lawsuit dragged through the courts for years until it was eventually dismissed. Ross kept the name, kept the fame, kept the power. So now, with Big Meech's return cancelled, his son standing beside Ross, and 50 Cent iced out of the picture, it begs the question, is history repeating itself? Is Rick Ross once again spinning someone else's legacy into his own gain, using Big Meech's name to build hype, using his son to flip the narrative, and turning betrayal into branding? Because while Ross sips champagne and trolls from his mansion, Meech's name is being pulled in every direction by people who never walked in his shoes. And let's not forget the bigger picture. This isn't just a clout battle. This is a war built on names, legacies, and betrayal. Rick Ross once used Big Meech's name to rise up in the rap game. Now, he's side by side with Meech's son, while the real Meech watches from the shadows. And it leaves us with one question no one seems ready to answer. Is Big Meech quietly rebuilding his empire? Or is he quietly setting up the most devastating betrayal the game has ever seen? You tell us, is this a strategic retreat or a revenge on a whole new level? Drop your take in the comments. Is the BMF legacy about to be reborn or rewritten? Because this story, it's far from over.